The pain hit me like a freight train at 2:15 p.m. on a Monday afternoon. I was standing in the lobby of the Meridian Plaza, inspecting a potential commercial property acquisition, when my chest suddenly felt like someone had wrapped steel cables around it and was tightening them with a winch. Sir? Sir? Are you all right? The property manager's voice sounded distant, like it was coming through water. I tried to speak, but the words wouldn't come. My left arm felt like it was on fire, and sweat was pouring down my face despite the air conditioning. The marble floor of the lobby seemed to tilt sideways, and I realized I was falling. "Call 911, someone shouted. "I think he's having a heart attack." The last thing I remember before everything went black was the sound of sirens in the distance and the cool touch of the marble against my cheek. I woke up in what was obviously a hospital room. The steady beeping of monitors filled the air, and there was a tube in my nose feeding me oxygen. My chest felt like someone had driven a truck over it, but I was alive. The clock on the wall read 8:30 p.m. Tuesday. "Jake? Oh, thank God you're awake." I turned my head toward the voice, expecting to see Marina, my wife of 12 years. Instead, there was a woman I'd never seen before in my life. She was about 40, with dark hair pulled back in a ponytail, wearing jeans and a sweater. She looked genuinely relieved, but I had absolutely no idea who she was. "Who are you?" I managed to croak out through my dry throat. The woman's face showed confusion. "Jake, it's me, Sienna, Marina's sister." My brain felt foggy from whatever medications they had me on, but I knew something was very wrong here. Marina didn't have a sister named Sienna. Marina's sister was named Rosa, and she lived in California. Plus, Marina's actual sister-in-law, my brother's wife, was named Sienna, but she was blonde and lived in Denver. "Where's Marina?" I asked. She had to handle some things. "She'll be here soon," the woman said, but her eyes weren't meeting mine. "The important thing is that you're okay. You gave us such a scare." "What things? And who are you, really?" Before she could answer, a doctor walked in, a petite Indian woman with kind eyes and graying hair. "Mr. Castellanos, I'm Dr. Shaw, your cardiologist. How are you feeling?" Like I got hit by a truck. But more importantly, who is this woman? She says she's my sister-in-law, but she's not. Dr. Shaw looked at the woman, then at me. "This is the person who came in as your emergency contact. She identified herself as Sienna Castellanos, your sister-in-law." My actual sister-in-law is in Denver, and Marina doesn't have a sister named Sienna. The woman who claimed to be Sienna stood up quickly. "Jake, you're confused. The heart attack, the medications, it's affecting your memory. I'm going to get some coffee and let you rest." She hurried out of the room before I could say anything else. Dr. Shaw frowned. "Mr. Castellanos, are you certain about your family relationships? Head trauma can sometimes—" "Doctor, I'm a commercial real estate developer. I manage million-dollar deals every day. My mind is fine. That woman is not my sister-in-law, and I have no idea why she's here or where my wife is." Dr. Shaw made a note on her tablet. "Let me look into how our emergency contact system worked in this case. In the meantime, is there someone you'd like us to call?" "Yes. My attorney, Donovan Pierce. His number is in my phone." I tried to sit up and immediately regretted it as pain shot through my chest. "Easy, Mr. Castellanos. You had a massive heart attack. Your body needs time to heal, but I'll make sure we get this contact situation sorted out." After Dr. Shaw left, I lay there trying to make sense of what was happening. Where was Marina? Why was some stranger claiming to be her sister? And why did I have a nagging feeling that this was just the beginning of something much worse? I reached for the call button and pressed it. When a nurse came in, I said, "I need to see my medical records. Specifically, I want to know who was listed as my emergency contact and when that information was entered into your system." The nurse, a kind-faced woman in her 50s, looked uncertain. "I can check with our administration about that request, Mr. Castellanos." "Please do. And I want to know exactly when this woman arrived and what identification she provided." 20 minutes later, Dr. Shaw returned with a hospital administrator, a nervous-looking man in his 30s wearing a cheap suit. "Mr. Castellanos, I'm David Murphy from Patient Services. Dr. Shaw asked me to review your emergency contact information." "And?" Murphy consulted his tablet. "According to our records, your emergency contact is listed as Sienna Castellanos. Relationship, sister. The phone number on file matches the number the woman who came in provided." "When was this information entered into your system?" Murphy tapped his screen. "Let me see. This entry was made 18 months ago, during your last routine physical. It shows it was entered from your patient portal using your login credentials." My blood ran cold. 18 months ago, I'd been traveling constantly for work. Marina had handled a lot of my appointment scheduling and administrative tasks from home. She'd used my laptop for that purpose many times. "Can you show me the IP address and exact time this change was made?" Murphy looked uncomfortable. "I'd need to involve our IT security team for that level of detail. That might take some time." "Do it. I want a complete audit trail of every change made to my account in the last 2 years." Dr. Shaw stepped forward. "Mr. Castellanos, I want to make sure you understand the seriousness of your condition. You've had what we call a STEMI, a major heart attack caused by a complete blockage of your left anterior descending artery. We were able to open it with emergency angioplasty, but you need to focus on recovery right now. Dr. Shaw, I appreciate your concern for my health. But I think someone has been planning to steal my assets, and they used my heart attack as their opportunity. I need to make some phone calls immediately." Murphy and Dr. Shaw exchanged glances. "Sir," Murphy said, "if you believe there's been some kind of fraud involving your medical records, we should involve hospital security and possibly the police." "Yes, let's do that. But first, I need to call my attorney and try to access my bank accounts." Dr. Shaw looked concerned. "Mr. Castellanos, you're still in the acute phase of recovery. High stress could cause another cardiac event." "Doctor, if someone is stealing my life's work while I'm lying here, that's going to cause me a lot more stress than making a phone call." She nodded reluctantly and handed me my phone from the bedside table. I called Donovan Pierce, my attorney. He answered on the second ring. "Jake, thank God you're okay. I heard about the heart attack. How are you feeling?" "I've been better." "Donovan, I need you to get down here right away. I think my wife and some accomplice have been planning to rob me blind, and they're using my heart attack as cover." "What? Jake, are you sure you're thinking clearly?" The doctor said. "Donovan, listen to me carefully. Some woman I've never seen before showed up at the hospital claiming to be Marina's sister Sienna. Marina doesn't have a sister named Sienna. And now I find out my emergency contact information was changed 18 months ago from a computer at my house." There was a pause. "Jesus. Okay, I'm heading to the hospital now. Don't say anything to anyone else until I get there. And Jake?" "Yeah? Don't try to access any of your accounts yet. If this is what I think it is, we need to document everything carefully." After I hung up, I turned to Murphy. I want that IP audit, and I want hospital security to review any footage you have of that woman arriving. Something tells me she got here awfully fast for someone who was just casually notified of a family emergency. Murphy nodded and left. Dr. Shaw remained. Mr. Castellanos, I have to ask, is it possible your wife could be involved in this? I stared at the ceiling. Marina and I had been married for 12 years. We'd built what I thought was a strong relationship, despite my frequent travel for work. She ran a successful art gallery downtown. We had joint accounts, but I'd always maintained separate business accounts for my real estate deals. Doctor, 2 days ago I would have said absolutely not. Right now I don't know what to think. She nodded sympathetically. The security team will be here shortly. Try to rest until your attorney arrives. But rest was the last thing on my mind. I was thinking about all the times Marina had used my laptop, all the times she'd said she was handling my appointments or administrative tasks, all the financial decisions she'd been involved in over the past year. And I was thinking about the fact that she wasn't here. When someone you've been married to for 12 years has a heart attack, you don't send a stranger to the hospital. You drop everything and come yourself, unless you're too busy stealing everything they own. Donovan arrived 45 minutes later, looking like he'd driven straight from the office without stopping. His usually perfect silver hair was disheveled, and his tie was loose. Jake, you look terrible, but considering you nearly died yesterday, I guess that's expected. Thanks for the pep talk. What did you find out on your way over? Donovan pulled a chair close to my bed. I made some calls. Marina hasn't been seen at her gallery since last Friday. Her assistant said she called in sick on Monday, the same day you had your heart attack. Convenient timing. It gets worse. I called your bank. There's been significant activity on your joint account since Monday afternoon. My heart monitor started beeping faster. What kind of activity? Large transfers to accounts I don't recognize. It looks like someone activated pre-existing transfer authorizations while you were unconscious. Pre-existing authorizations? I never set up any automatic transfers. Donovan opened his briefcase and pulled out a legal pad. Jake, I need you to think carefully. In the past year, did Marina ever ask you to sign any financial documents? Maybe she said they were for convenience or business expansion or streamlining your accounts? I closed my eyes and tried to remember. There were a few things. She said it would be easier if we consolidated some accounts. And there was some paperwork about healthcare powers of attorney. She said it would help if something happened during my business trips. Healthcare power of attorney can include authority over financial decisions related to medical care. If it's written broadly enough, it could authorize someone to access accounts to pay medical bills. You're saying she could use my heart attack to justify stealing my money. I'm saying someone with a healthcare POA could argue they needed access to funds for your medical treatment, especially if you were unconscious and couldn't authorize payments yourself. Just then, Murphy returned with 2 other people, a hospital security officer and a woman in business attire who introduced herself as the IT security manager. Mr. Castellanos, the IT manager said, we've completed the audit you requested. The emergency contact change was made on March 15, 2023, at 2:47 p.m. from your home IP address. It was accessed using your patient portal login credentials. That was a Wednesday, I said. I was in California that entire week for the Morrison Center deal. Donovan made a note. Can you tell us what other changes were made to the account? The IT manager consulted her tablet. Several appointment changes and additions. Most recently, last Friday, someone used the portal to add an additional emergency contact. Who? Someone named Marina Castellanos, listed as spouse. But here's what's interesting. The original emergency contact, listed as your wife Marina Castellanos, was changed to the name Sienna Castellanos 18 months ago. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. So Marina removed herself as my emergency contact and replaced herself with this fake Sienna person. That's what the records show, the IT manager confirmed. The security officer, a large man with kind eyes, stepped forward. Mr. Castellanos, we reviewed our security footage. The woman who claimed to be your sister-in-law arrived at the hospital at 3:45 p.m. on Monday, exactly 30 minutes after the ambulance brought you in. That's impossibly fast, Donovan said, unless she was already nearby and expecting the call. There's more, the security officer continued. We have footage of her in our parking garage from 1:30 p.m. that same day, 45 minutes before your emergency call was even made. The room went silent except for the beeping of my heart monitor. She was waiting, I said quietly. She knew I was going to have a heart attack. Dr. Shaw, who had been quietly listening, spoke up. Mr. Castellanos, heart attacks aren't predictable with that kind of precision. But if someone knew you were at high risk and under stress… Donovan leaned forward. Jake, had you been feeling any symptoms? Chest pain? Shortness of breath? I'd been having some chest discomfort for a few weeks. Marina kept saying I should see a doctor, but I kept putting it off because of work. Did she know you were going to the Meridian Plaza inspection Monday? Of course. It was on my calendar, and we discussed it over breakfast. She even suggested I should reschedule because I hadn't been feeling well. Dr. Shaw frowned. Mr. Castellanos, stress and physical exertion can trigger heart attacks in people with underlying coronary disease. If someone knew you had symptoms and knew you'd be doing physical activity, you're saying she could have known this might happen? I'm saying the timing is remarkably convenient for someone who was prepared to immediately access your emergency contact information. Donovan stood up. Jake, I need to file emergency injunctions immediately. If they've activated pre-existing transfer systems, they could be moving money offshore as we speak. Do it. But first, try calling Marina's phone. Put it on speaker. Donovan dialed. The phone went straight to voicemail. Hi, you've reached Marina. I can't take your call right now, but leave a message and I'll get back to you. Her phone's been off since Monday, I said. The day I had the heart attack. The security officer made a note. Mr. Castellanos, do you have any idea where your wife might be? No, but I'm betting she's not alone. That woman who was here, the fake Sienna, I guarantee she and Marina are together somewhere, probably trying to get as much money moved as possible before I woke up. Donovan was already on his phone with his office. Sarah, I need you to prepare emergency injunction paperwork for all of Jake Castellanos' accounts. Yes, all of them. And I need it filed within the hour. After he hung up, he turned to me. Jake, I hate to ask this while you're recovering, but I need you to discharge yourself. We need to get to the bank and my office immediately. Dr. Shaw shook her head. Absolutely not. Mr. Castellanos needs at least another 48 hours of cardiac monitoring. Doctor, with all due respect, if we don't act immediately, there might not be anything left to recover by the time he's medically cleared. I started pulling off the monitoring leads. Dr. Shaw, I appreciate everything you've done for me, but I'd rather take my chances with my heart than lose everything I've worked for my entire life. Mr. Castellanos, you could have another heart attack. You could die. Doc, If these people succeed in stealing everything, I might as well be dead anyway. She sighed and called for a nurse. If you're determined to do this against medical advice, I need you to sign discharge forms, and I want you back here at the first sign of any chest pain, shortness of breath, or other symptoms. Understood. Donovan, call your office and tell them we'll be there in an hour. As I was getting dressed, my phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Jake, thank God you're okay. It was Marina's voice. Marina, where the hell are you? I'm at the gallery handling an emergency. Sienna told me you woke up. How are you feeling? I'm feeling like I want to know why some stranger was at my bedside claiming to be your sister. There was a pause. Jake, you're confused. Sienna is my sister. The heart attack must have affected your memory. Marina, your sister's name is Rosa, and she lives in California. Stop lying to me. Jake, I think the medications are making you paranoid. Rosa is my half-sister from my father's first marriage. Sienna is my sister from my mother's side. You've met her several times. I've never seen that woman before in my life. Jake, you're scaring me. I think you need to talk to Dr. Shaw about these memory issues. I looked at Donovan, who was listening intently and taking notes. Marina, I want you to come to the hospital right now. I can't. I told you there's an emergency at the gallery, but I'll come as soon as I can. What kind of emergency? A water pipe burst and damaged several paintings. I'm dealing with insurance and restoration people. At 9 o'clock at night? It's a 24-hour emergency service. Jake, I really think you should rest. Let Sienna take care of you. Marina, here's what's going to happen. You're going to come to the hospital within the next hour, or I'm filing for divorce and having you arrested for fraud. Jake, what's gotten into you? You're talking crazy. 1 hour, Marina. I mean it. I hung up and looked at Donovan. She's lying about everything, and that story about the gallery is complete nonsense. Let's go check on her gallery. If there really was water damage, there should be emergency vehicles, restoration equipment, something. We left the hospital against Dr. Shaw's strong objections. Donovan drove while I called the bank's emergency number. First National Bank, Emergency Services. This is Jake Castellanos. I need to put immediate holds on all my accounts. I believe there's been unauthorized access. Mr. Castellanos, I see several large transfers that were processed this afternoon. They appear to have been authorized using your healthcare power of attorney documentation. How much? The transfers total $2.3 million from your joint accounts and business line of credit. I felt dizzy. Where did the money go? To accounts at Cayman International Bank and First Bank of Switzerland. Stop any pending transfers immediately. Sir, I'll need you to come in with proper identification and documentation to make those changes. I'll be there first thing in the morning. Donovan was already on his phone again. Sarah, make those injunctions for $2.3 million in stolen funds, and add international asset recovery to the filings. We drove to Marina's Gallery in downtown Phoenix. The building was dark, and there were no emergency vehicles or any signs of water damage. So much for the burst pipe story, Donovan said. I called Marina back, straight to voicemail again. Donovan, they're gone. I can feel it. Maybe. But Jake, moving $2.3 million internationally takes time, especially if they want to avoid detection. They might still be around, waiting to see if they can get more. What do you mean more? Your business accounts, your real estate holdings, your retirement funds. The healthcare POA might give them access to things we haven't thought of yet. I realized I hadn't even tried to access my business accounts yet. I pulled out my phone and tried to log into my real estate company's account. Access denied. Password has been changed. They've locked me out of my own business accounts. Donovan pulled over. Jake, we need to think about this strategically. If they're still around, if they're still trying to steal more, then we have a chance to catch them and get everything back. But if we move too fast and spook them, they disappear with what they've already taken. Exactly. So here's what we're going to do. Tomorrow morning, we file the injunctions and get law enforcement involved. Tonight, we document everything and try to figure out where they are. How do we do that? Well, for starters, let's find out where the fake Sienna has been staying. She had to be somewhere in Phoenix to get to the hospital so quickly. We drove back to my house, a large place in Scottsdale that Marina and I had bought 5 years earlier. Her car wasn't in the garage, but that didn't necessarily mean anything since she could have parked anywhere. Inside, the house felt different. Not obviously disturbed, but somehow wrong. Like someone had been going through things carefully. Jake, show me where Marina typically used your laptop. I led him to the home office. My laptop was there, but when I opened it, it had been restarted recently. I checked the browser history. It had been cleared. She covered her tracks, I said. Maybe not all of them. Donovan pulled out his phone. I'm calling a forensic computer expert. If Marina used this computer to access your accounts, there might still be evidence. While he made the call, I went through the house more carefully. In our bedroom, Marina's jewelry box was empty. Her passport was gone from the safe. Most of her clothes were still in the closet, but I realized some of her favorites were missing. In the guest room, it looked like someone had been staying there recently. The bed was made, but there were indentations in the pillows and a faint smell of unfamiliar perfume. Donovan, I called. I think the fake Sienna was staying here. He came upstairs and looked around the guest room. How long do you think? Hard to say. Could have been days, could have been weeks. I've been traveling so much for work I wouldn't have noticed. Donovan's phone rang. Pierce speaking. Yes, he's right here. He handed me the phone. It's Agent Sterling from the FBI. Apparently, your bank contacted them about the international transfers. Mr. Castellanos, this is Agent Nathaniel Sterling with the FBI Financial Crimes Unit. I understand you've reported unauthorized international wire transfers totaling $2.3 million. That's correct. Sir, transfers of this size to offshore accounts trigger automatic federal investigation protocols. I'd like to meet with you tomorrow morning to discuss the details. Agent Sterling, I think my wife and an accomplice have been planning this for months, possibly years. They used my heart attack as cover to access my accounts. That's a serious allegation, Mr. Castellanos. Do you have evidence of premeditation? I explained about the emergency contact changes, the fake Sienna, Marina's disappearance, and the healthcare POA. Mr. Castellanos, if what you're telling me is accurate, we're looking at conspiracy to commit wire fraud, identity theft, and possibly organized financial crime. I'll need to see all your documentation first thing in the morning. Agent Sterling, one more thing. I think they might still be in the area. They may be planning to steal more. Sir, if you have any contact with these individuals, do not attempt to apprehend them yourself. Call 911 immediately. Financial criminals who feel cornered can become dangerous. After I hung up, Donovan and I sat in my living room trying to piece everything together. Jake, I need to ask you something, and I want you to think carefully before you answer. Okay? In the past year, Have you noticed anything different about Marina? Changes in behavior, new friends, unexplained absences? I thought about it. She's been traveling more for the gallery, art shows, estate sales, that kind of thing. And she's been spending more time with her sister, who I now know is probably this Zelda person. Zelda? The fake Sienna. When she was at the hospital, she signed some paperwork. I saw the signature. It was definitely a Z, not an S. Okay, so Marina and this Zelda person have been spending time together. How long? Marina started talking about her sister about 2 years ago. Said they'd reconnected after being estranged. And you never met her until the hospital? Marina always said Sienna was shy, didn't like big gatherings. She supposedly lived out of state and only visited occasionally. Donovan made notes. Jake, I think they've been planning this for a long time. The emergency contact changes, the healthcare POA, the joint accounts. It's all been infrastructure or this moment. You think they knew I was going to have a heart attack? I think they knew you were at risk and they positioned themselves to take advantage when it happened. The question is whether they just waited for it to happen naturally, or whether they somehow triggered it. What do you mean? Stress, certain medications, even some foods can trigger cardiac events in people with underlying heart disease. If Marina knew you had coronary problems, she didn't know. I hadn't told her about the chest pains. Jake, you said she was encouraging you to see a doctor. How did she know you needed to see one? I thought about the past few weeks. Marina had been unusually attentive to my health, asking about how I was feeling, suggesting I looked tired or stressed. Oh God, she's been watching me. She knew I was having symptoms. And she knew you well enough to predict you'd ignore them and keep working. The Meridian Plaza inspection. It's a physically demanding property review, climbing stairs, crawling through mechanical spaces. If someone wanted to trigger a heart attack, they'd send you to do exactly that kind of work when you were already having cardiac symptoms. I felt sick, and not from my heart condition. My own wife tried to kill me to steal my money. Jake, we don't know that for certain, but we know she positioned herself to benefit if something happened to you, and the timing is awfully convenient. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Jake, this is Sienna. I heard you left the hospital. That was dangerous. Are you at home? I'd like to come check on you. I showed the text to Donovan. They're still here, he said, and they're testing to see if you're still confused or if you figured out what's happening. What should I say? Nothing yet. Let's see if they contact you again. 5 minutes later, another text. Jake, I'm worried about you. Marina is tied up with the gallery emergency, but I can come stay with you tonight to make sure you're okay. They want back in the house, I said. Why? Maybe there's something here they still need. Documents, evidence, or maybe they're not done stealing. Donovan stood up. Jake, I think it's time to involve the police. This is moving beyond financial fraud into potential conspiracy and personal danger. But if we call the police now, they'll run. We might never get the money back. If we don't call the police and they come here tonight, you might not live to worry about the money. I was about to respond when we heard a car in the driveway. Get down, Donovan whispered, pulling me away from the window. We could hear car doors closing and quiet voices. Then the sound of keys in the front door lock. They still have keys? I whispered. Donovan was already dialing 911 on his phone. 911, what's your emergency? This is Donovan Pierce, attorney. I'm at 1247 Desert Ridge Drive in Scottsdale with my client Jake Castellanos. There are people breaking into his house. We believe they're involved in a financial fraud scheme. Sir, are you in immediate danger? We don't know. They have keys to the house. Officers are being dispatched. Stay on the line and find a secure location in the house. We could hear footsteps in the front hallway and quiet conversation between two women. Said he left the hospital. Need to find the documents before. What if he's figured it out? The voices were getting closer. We quietly moved toward the back of the house, toward the master bedroom where I had a panic room that had been installed by the previous owner. Jake? It was Marina's voice, calling from the front of the house. Jake, are you here? I came to check on you. We made it to the panic room, a small, reinforced space behind the master bedroom closet. I entered the code and we slipped inside, closing the heavy door behind us. The room had security monitors showing feeds from cameras around the house. We could see Marina and the fake Sienna, Zelda, searching through the house. She said he left the hospital, Zelda was saying. He could be anywhere. Check the office, Marina replied. We need to make sure he didn't access any accounts from here. They moved into my home office, and we watched them go through my desk and computer area. Marina, what if he's figured out who I really am? Zelda sounded nervous. Then we stick to the plan. The money's already moved. We just need to get the rest of the documents and get out of the country. What about the real estate holdings? That paperwork is probably in his safe. We need the combinations. On the monitor, we could see them moving toward the master bedroom, toward us. The safe is behind that painting, Marina said, pointing to a landscape on the bedroom wall. They found the safe, but of course they didn't have the combination. Call him, Marina said. Tell him you're worried and you want to come take care of him. Get him to come home. Zelda pulled out her phone and I saw my number appear on the screen. My phone started ringing. I looked at Donovan and whispered, "Should I answer?" He shook his head and pointed to his phone, which still had 911 on the line. We could hear the dispatcher saying that officers were 2 minutes away. He's not answering, Zelda said. Try again. Tell him it's an emergency. My phone rang again. This time I answered, putting it on speaker so Donovan and the 911 dispatcher could hear. Hello? Jake, thank God. This is Sienna. I'm at your house. Marina sent me to check on you. Where are you? I'm at my attorney's office. Why are you in my house? Marina was worried about you leaving the hospital. She wanted me to make sure you had everything you needed. How did you get in? Marina gave me her key. Jake, I really think you should come home. You shouldn't be driving around after a heart attack. I could see her on the monitor, looking directly at the camera in the bedroom like she knew I was watching. Sienna, I need to ask you something. Of course. What's my wife's sister's real name? The one who lives in California? There was a pause. Jake, I think you're still confused from the heart attack. I'm Marina's sister. No, you're not. And I think you know exactly who you are and why you're in my house. On the monitor, I could see Zelda's face go pale. She said something to Marina I couldn't hear. Jake, I don't understand what you're implying. I'm implying that you and Marina have been planning to rob me, and you used my heart attack as your opportunity. That's crazy, Jake. You need medical attention. What I need is for you to get out of my house. Jake, please, let me help you. On the monitor, I could see police lights outside the house. You know what, Sienna? You're right. I do need help. That's why I called the police. Both women on the monitor suddenly looked toward the front of the house as they heard car doors slamming. Police! Open the door! I watched Marina and Zelda look at each other in panic. Jake, Zelda said into the phone, I think there's been a misunderstanding. The only misunderstanding was me trusting either of you. I hung up and called out to the 911 dispatcher. The police are here. We're coming out of the secure room. When we emerged from the panic room, we could hear voices from the front of the house. Donovan and I made our way to the living room, where two police officers had Marina and Zelda sitting on the couch. Mr. Castellanos? One of the officers approached me. I'm Officer Rodriguez. Are you the homeowner? Yes, and these women were in my house without permission. Sir, the dark-haired woman says she's your wife. She is my wife, but I didn't give her permission to be here tonight, and I certainly didn't give permission to her accomplice. Rodriguez looked confused. Sir, if she's your wife, doesn't she have a right to be in the house? Donovan stepped forward. Officer, we've filed reports with the FBI about financial fraud. These women have stolen $2.3 million from Mr. Castellanos' accounts, and we believe they were here to steal more. That's ridiculous, Marina said, standing up. Jake, tell them this is all a misunderstanding. I looked at my wife of 12 years. The woman I'd shared a bed with, made plans with, built a life with, and realized I didn't know her at all. Officer Rodriguez, I want both of these women arrested for burglary and conspiracy to commit fraud. Jake! Marina looked genuinely shocked. How can you say that? I love you. If you loved me, you wouldn't have been stealing my money while I was unconscious in the hospital. Zelda suddenly stood up. This is insane. I'm leaving. Ma'am, sit down, Officer Rodriguez said firmly. Am I under arrest? Not yet, but you're not leaving until we sort this out. Rodriguez turned to me. Mr. Castellanos, I need to see some identification, and I need some proof of your claims about financial fraud. I showed him my license and pulled up the text messages from my bank about the transfers. Donovan provided business cards and explained about the FBI investigation. Officer, Donovan said, we have documentation that these women changed Mr. Castellanos' emergency contact information over a year ago, positioned themselves to access his accounts through a healthcare power of attorney, and moved $2.3 million to offshore accounts while he was unconscious in the hospital. Rodriguez looked at Marina. Ma'am, is this true? Of course not. Jake had a heart attack and he's confused. I've been trying to take care of him. Then why was your phone turned off for 2 days? Marina hesitated. My phone wasn't off. I pulled out my phone and called her number. It went straight to voicemail. Your phone's been off since Monday, the day I had the heart attack. Jake, I can explain. Ma'am, Officer Rodriguez interrupted. I'm going to need you both to come to the station for questioning. Am I under arrest? Marina asked. Not at this time, but the FBI has requested that we bring you in for questioning regarding financial crimes. Rodriguez called for backup and additional units. Within 20 minutes, my house was filled with police officers, FBI agents, and crime scene technicians. Agent Sterling, the FBI agent I'd spoken to earlier, arrived and immediately took charge. Mr. Castellanos, I'm glad you're safe. We've been monitoring the offshore accounts and there's been additional activity since this afternoon. What kind of activity? Attempts to transfer the funds to secondary accounts in non-extradition countries. Whoever is behind this is trying to make the money untraceable. I looked at Marina, who was now sitting in the back of a police car. Agent Sterling, how long has this been planned? Based on the documentation your attorney provided, at least 18 months, possibly longer. This wasn't a crime of opportunity. This was a long-term operation. Agent Sterling, Donovan said, what are the chances of recovering the stolen funds? If we can prove the transfers were made fraudulently, we have mutual legal assistance treaties with both the Cayman Islands and Switzerland. Recovery is possible, but it takes time. How much time? Months, maybe longer if they fight extradition of the funds. One of the crime scene technicians approached us. Agent Sterling, we found evidence in the guest bedroom that someone had been living there for an extended period. There are also documents that appear to be forged identity papers. What kind of documents? A driver's license in the name Sienna Castellanos, a passport in the same name, and what appears to be a fraudulent birth certificate. Agent Sterling turned to me. Mr. Castellanos, have you ever seen these documents before? Never. I told you, I'd never seen that woman before today. The interesting thing is, these documents are very high quality, professional-grade forgeries. This suggests significant planning and resources. Meaning? Meaning this probably isn't their first time. People don't invest in identity documents this sophisticated for a one-time crime. Another agent approached Sterling. Sir, we've identified the second suspect. Her real name is Zelda Morrison. She's a corporate accountant with previous arrests for financial fraud in 2 other states. Previous arrests? Colorado and Nevada. She has a pattern of targeting women in relationships, gaining access to their financial information, and disappearing with their assets. I felt dizzy. Marina's been in a relationship with this woman? It appears so, sir. We found evidence in the guest room suggesting they've been living together for some time. Living together? But Marina and I are married. We live together. Agent Sterling looked uncomfortable. Mr. Castellanos, when was the last time you and your wife were intimate? I thought about it. Between my constant travel for work and Marina's increasing gallery commitments, we'd been like roommates more than spouses for the past year. Agent Sterling, are you saying Marina is gay? I'm saying we found evidence that your wife has been in a romantic relationship with Ms. Morrison while maintaining her marriage to you as cover for their criminal activities. The betrayal hit me like another heart attack. Not only had Marina been stealing from me, but our entire marriage had been a lie. How long? Based on the evidence we've found, approximately 2 years. 2 years, the same time frame as the financial planning for this theft. So she married me for my money, waited until she could steal all of it, and then planned to disappear with her girlfriend? That appears to be the situation, yes. I sat down heavily in one of my own dining room chairs. Agent Sterling, what happens now? We arrest both women on federal charges of conspiracy to commit wire fraud, money laundering, and identity theft. We freeze any remaining accessible assets, and we begin the process of recovering the stolen funds. What are the chances they'll be convicted? Based on the evidence we've seen so far, very high. The documentation of premeditation, the forged identity documents, and the sophisticated nature of the financial crimes make this a strong case. And prison time? Federal wire fraud carries up to 20 years. Money laundering adds another 20. With the amounts involved and the sophisticated nature of the crime, they're looking at significant sentences. One of the officers approached. Agent Sterling, both suspects are asking for lawyers. Expected. Make sure they're read their rights and transported to federal holding. I watched through my window as Marina was led to a federal vehicle. She looked back at the house, at me, with an expression I couldn't read. Regret? Anger? Fear? After all the vehicles left, Donovan and I were alone in my house. The crime scene team had finished their work, but the place felt violated. Jake, you need to go back to the hospital. I'm fine. You're not fine. You had a heart attack 36 hours ago. You just discovered your wife has been stealing from you for years, and you found out your marriage was a complete fraud. No one is fine after that. He was right. I was exhausted, my chest was aching, and I felt like I was about to collapse. Donovan, what if I can't recover the money? What if they've stolen everything I've worked for? Jake, you're a successful businessman. You know how to build wealth. Even if we only recover part of what they stole, you can rebuild. It's not about the money. It's about the fact that I shared my life with someone who was planning to destroy me. I know. But Jake, you survived. Both the heart attack and the theft. A lot of people in your situation wouldn't have been smart enough or strong enough to figure out what was happening before it was too late. I got lucky. If I hadn't woken up confused about that fake Sienna, I might never have realized what was happening. Maybe. But you did realize it, and you acted quickly. That's why we caught them before they could disappear completely. My phone rang. Dr. Shaw. Mr. Castellanos, I heard from the police about what happened tonight. How are you feeling? Like I've been hit by a truck, again. I want you back at the hospital for observation. The stress from tonight could trigger another cardiac event. Dr. Shaw, I just need to sleep in my own bed. Mr. Castellanos, your own bed is now a crime scene. Come back to the hospital. Doctor's orders. She was right. The house felt contaminated by what had happened, and I was exhausted beyond anything I'd ever experienced. Donovan, drive me back to the hospital. Good idea. We have a lot of work to do tomorrow, and you need to be healthy enough to handle it. On the drive back, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Jake, please don't believe what they're telling you. I love you and I can explain everything. Marina. I showed the text to Donovan. She's trying to manipulate you even from jail, he said. Should I respond? Absolutely not. Anything you say could be used against you in court, and anything she says is likely to be lies designed to minimize her legal exposure. Donovan, how did I miss this? How did I live with someone for 12 years and not know who she really was? Jake, these people are professional criminals. Marina specifically targeted you because you're successful, trusting, and frequently out of town for work. She created a perfect cover story and maintained it for years. This isn't your fault. But the signs had to be there. Maybe. But you were focused on building your business and trusting your wife. Most people don't go through life assuming their spouse is a criminal. We arrived back at the hospital at 2 a.m. Dr. Shaw was waiting for me in the emergency room. Mr. Castellanos, let's get you checked in. I want to run another EKG and some blood work to make sure tonight's stress didn't cause any additional heart damage. As they wheeled me back to a room, I thought about the fact that less than 48 hours ago, I was a successful businessman with a wife I trusted and a secure financial future. Now I was a heart attack survivor who discovered his marriage was a criminal conspiracy. But I was alive. And I was going to make sure Marina and Zelda paid for what they'd done. The next morning brought a parade of law enforcement agents, attorneys, and financial investigators. My hospital room felt like a war room as we planned the legal and financial counterattack. Agent Sterling arrived at 8 a.m. with updates. Mr. Castellanos, we've made significant progress overnight. Both suspects are in federal custody and have been charged with conspiracy to commit wire fraud, money laundering, and identity theft. What about bail? Denied. The judge considered them flight risks given the international nature of the crime and the fact that they had forged identity documents. Good. What about the money? We've frozen the offshore accounts and are working with international authorities to recover the funds. The Swiss are being cooperative, but the Cayman Islands process is more complex. Donovan pulled out a legal pad. Agent Sterling, what's the timeline for fund recovery? Best case, 3 to 6 months. Worst case, a couple of years if they fight it through every legal channel. And how much are we talking about recovering? We've identified $2.3 million in the initial transfers, plus another $800,000 that was moved overnight before we could stop it. My stomach dropped. They stole another $800,000 while we were dealing with the arrests? It appears the transfers were automated to execute on a delayed schedule. They'd planned for contingencies. So they planned for the possibility of getting caught? They planned for multiple scenarios. Mr. Castellanos, we've also discovered that your wife has been planning this specific crime for at least 3 years. How do you know? Agent Sterling opened a file. We searched the guest room thoroughly. We found journals, financial documents, and what appears to be a detailed plan of your daily routines, business schedule, and financial practices. She was studying me. For years, she documented your travel patterns, your health symptoms, your financial habits, even your emotional responses to stress. I felt sick. She was treating me like a mark. Mr. Castellanos, there's more. We've identified at least 4 other women who were victimized by Zelda Morrison in similar schemes over the past 8 years. 4 other women? Zelda's pattern is to target successful women, usually business owners or professionals, establish romantic relationships with them, gain access to their financial information, and then systematically steal their assets. But I'm not a woman. No, but Marina fit Zelda's typical victim profile. Successful business owner, independent, financially secure. We think Zelda targeted Marina, and Marina suggested targeting you as a bigger score. So Marina was a victim who became a criminal? It's possible. But based on the evidence, Marina was an enthusiastic participant in planning your theft. Whether she started as a victim or not, she clearly embraced the criminal lifestyle. Dr. Shaw entered with my discharge paperwork. Mr. Castellanos, your cardiac function looks stable. I'm releasing you with instructions to avoid stress and return immediately if you experience any symptoms. Doc, avoiding stress is going to be impossible for the next few months. Then take it one day at a time and listen to your body. And consider counseling. What you've been through is traumatic beyond just the medical aspects. After Dr. Shaw left, Agent Sterling continued his briefing. Mr. Castellanos, we need to talk about the investigation timeline. Both suspects have requested lawyers, so we expect the legal process to be lengthy. How lengthy? Federal cases like this typically take 12 to 18 months to resolve. There will be plea negotiations, discovery, and possibly trial. And what do you need from me? Your complete cooperation and testimony. We'll need you to document every aspect of your relationship with Marina, every financial transaction you can remember, and every detail about how the healthcare power of attorney was obtained. Donovan stood up. Agent Sterling, what about the real estate holdings? Marina had herself added to several property titles. We're reviewing all property transfers. If they were made using fraudulent authority, we can reverse them. But that's a civil matter that will run parallel to the criminal case. Meaning? Meaning Jake might get his property back, but it could take separate legal action. How much property are we talking about? I thought about it. 3 commercial buildings and 1 residential rental. Total value probably around $4 million. We'll need documentation of when Marina was added to those titles and what authority was used. One of Agent Sterling's colleagues entered the room. Sir, we have developments from the overnight interrogations. What kind of developments? Zelda Morrison is asking to make a deal. She wants to cooperate in exchange for a reduced sentence. I looked at Donovan. Should we want her to cooperate? Depends what she has to offer, Donovan said. If she can provide evidence that helps convict Marina and recover more stolen funds, cooperation might be beneficial. Agent Sterling nodded. Mr. Castellanos, would you be willing to participate in a controlled conversation with Zelda if she agrees to cooperate? You mean wear a wire? Possibly, or a controlled phone call. If she's willing to admit to the crimes and provide details about how they planned and executed the theft, it could strengthen our case significantly. Is it dangerous? Not physically, but it could be emotionally difficult. She'll likely try to manipulate you or claim that Marina forced her to participate. Agent Sterling, I want these women to pay for what they did. If talking to Zelda helps make that happen, I'll do it. Let me talk to her attorney and see what kind of cooperation she's willing to provide. After the agents left, Donovan and I went to his office to begin the civil legal work. We needed to file emergency motions to reverse the property transfers and recover assets that weren't part of the federal investigation. Jake, I have to ask, are you financially okay in the short term? Can you cover your living expenses and business operations while we recover the stolen funds? I thought about my various accounts and credit lines. I'll be tight, but I can manage for a few months. The bigger concern is my business reputation. If word gets out that I was robbed by my own wife? Jake, you were the victim of a sophisticated criminal conspiracy. No one is going to blame you for being targeted by professional criminals. Maybe. But in commercial real estate, everything is about trust and stability. If my clients think I can't manage my own personal affairs, we'll deal with that when we have to. Right now, focus on recovery, both medical and financial. That afternoon, Agent Sterling called with an update on Zelda's cooperation offer. Mr. Castellanos, Zelda Morrison's attorney says she's willing to provide full cooperation in exchange for a plea deal that caps her sentence at 8 years. 8 years? For stealing over $3 million? Federal sentencing guidelines are complex. With cooperation credit and no previous federal convictions, 8 years is actually significant jail time. What kind of cooperation is she offering? Complete details about how they planned and executed the theft, admission of guilt, testimony against Marina, and assistance in recovering additional hidden assets. Additional hidden assets? She claims there are other accounts and assets we haven't found yet. I thought about it. Agent Sterling, if her cooperation helps us recover more money and ensures Marina gets a longer sentence, I'm in favor of the deal. There's one more thing. She's requesting a face-to-face meeting with you before she agrees to cooperate. Why? She claims she wants to apologize and explain her side of the story. Donovan shook his head. Jake, that sounds like a manipulation attempt. Maybe. But if it gets us closer to recovering the money and convicting Marina, it might be worth it. Agent Sterling's voice was cautious. Mr. Castellanos, if you agree to meet with her, it will be in a controlled environment with federal agents present. Anything she says can be used in court, and anything you say could be used by her defense attorney. I understand. Let's set it up. Are you sure? You're under no obligation to meet with her. Agent Sterling, this woman helped steal my life savings while I was unconscious in a hospital. If she wants to apologize, I want to hear it. And if she's lying, I want to see her do it to my face. We'll arrange it for tomorrow afternoon at the Federal Building. After I hung up, Donovan looked concerned. Jake, are you sure about this? Seeing her could be emotionally difficult, especially so soon after the heart attack. Donovan, I need to understand how this happened. I need to hear from her how they planned it, how long they were watching me, how they knew about my health problems. You might not like what you hear. I already don't like any of this, but I need the truth. That evening, I went back to my house for the first time since the arrests. The police had released it as a crime scene, but it still felt foreign and violated. I walked through the rooms trying to see them with new eyes. How many times had Marina and Zelda sat in my living room planning to rob me? How many times had they gone through my papers, my computer, my personal belongings? In the guest room where Zelda had been staying, I found small things the police had missed. A hair tie that wasn't Marina's. A different brand of shampoo in the bathroom. A coffee mug that I'd never seen before. She'd been living in my house, sleeping in my guest room, eating my food, and planning to steal everything I owned. I called my brother in Denver. Jake, thank God you're okay. I heard about the heart attack. How are you feeling? Like my entire life has been turned upside down. What do you mean? I explained about Marina, Zelda, the theft, and the arrests. My brother listened without interrupting. Jesus, Jake. I'm so sorry. Is there anything I can do? Actually, yes. Can you ask Sienna, your wife, the real Sienna, to write a statement about never meeting Marina's supposed sister? The FBI needs documentation that the woman at the hospital was impersonating her. Of course. Jake, do you want us to come out there? You shouldn't have to deal with this alone. I appreciate it, but I have a good attorney and the FBI is handling everything. I just need to get through the legal process and try to recover the money. What about the gallery? Marina's business? The FBI seized it as part of the criminal investigation. Apparently, she was using it to launder stolen money and sell forged artwork. So even her business was criminal? Looks like it. I don't think anything about Marina was real. After I hung up, I sat in my living room trying to remember any genuine moments from my marriage. Had Marina ever actually loved me? Or had it all been an act? My phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Jake, this is Marina. Please don't hang up. Marina, you're supposed to be in federal custody. I'm calling from jail. Jake, I need you to know that I never wanted to hurt you. Then why did you steal $3 million from me while I was unconscious in a hospital? It's complicated. Zelda convinced me that you would never miss the money, that you had so much that taking some wouldn't hurt you. Marina, you stole everything from our joint accounts. You tried to take my business, my property, everything I've worked for my entire life. I know how it looks, but it wasn't supposed to happen like this. How was it supposed to happen? We were just going to take enough to start over somewhere. The heart attack changed everything. Zelda panicked and moved more money than we planned. So you admit you were planning to rob me. There was a pause. Jake, I love you. I know you don't believe that now, but I do. If you loved me, you wouldn't have been living a double life with another woman for 2 years. How do you know about that? The FBI found evidence. Marina, our entire marriage was a lie. No, Jake, my feelings for you were real. The relationship with Zelda, that was separate. You can't love me and plan to destroy me at the same time. Jake, If you still have any feelings for me, please don't cooperate with them. They're trying to make this look worse than it is. Marina, they have documentation that you've been planning this for 3 years. They have forged identity documents, financial records, everything. Those were Zelda's. I was just following her lead. Stop lying to me. Even now, even caught, you're still lying. Jake, please. I hung up. 5 minutes later, my phone rang again. I didn't answer. It went to voicemail. Jake, I know you're angry, but please think about what you're doing. If you cooperate with them, you're going to destroy my entire life. I'll go to prison for 20 years. Is that really what you want for someone you once loved? I deleted the voicemail without listening to the rest. Marina was still trying to manipulate me, even from jail. She was trying to make me feel guilty for cooperating with the investigation into my own victimization. But I wasn't going to fall for it anymore. The next afternoon, I met with Zelda Morrison at the federal building. Agent Sterling led me into a small conference room where Zelda was sitting with her attorney, a sharp-looking woman in her 40s wearing an expensive suit. Zelda looked different than she had at the hospital. Smaller, more nervous, less confident. She was wearing an orange jumpsuit and handcuffs. Mr. Castellanos, her attorney said, my client has asked for this meeting because she wants to apologize for her role in what happened to you. I'm listening. Zelda looked up at me with what appeared to be genuine remorse. Mr. Castellanos, I'm sorry. I know that doesn't mean much now, but I want you to know that I never intended for you to get hurt. You stole over $3 million from me while I was unconscious in a hospital. How did you think I wouldn't get hurt? I mean physically hurt. When Marina told me you were having chest pains, I was worried the stress of discovering the theft might cause another heart attack. You knew I was having cardiac symptoms? Marina mentioned it. She said you'd been complaining about chest pain but refusing to see a doctor. I looked at Agent Sterling, who was taking notes. Zelda, how long were you and Marina planning this? About 2 years. But it wasn't supposed to be this much money, and it wasn't supposed to happen when you were sick. What was it supposed to be? We were going to take maybe $500,000 from the joint accounts and disappear. Enough to start over somewhere else, but not enough to ruin you. But it became $3 million. When you had the heart attack, Marina panicked. She said it was our only chance to get everything, that if we didn't take it all then, we might never get another opportunity. So you used my medical emergency to steal as much as possible. Yes. Zelda's voice was barely a whisper. How did you know about my emergency contact information? Marina had been planning that for months. She used your laptop to change the contact information and set up the accounts for transfers. The healthcare power of attorney? Marina researched how to get broad financial authority through medical documents. She convinced you to sign it by saying it was for convenience during your business trips. I remembered signing those papers. Marina had presented them as routine paperwork, just in case something happened while I was traveling. Zelda, how did you meet Marina? At an art gallery event about 3 years ago. I was immediately attracted to her, but she was married. Did you know she was planning to rob me when you started the relationship? Zelda's attorney leaned forward. Mr. Castellanos, my client wants to be honest, but I need to advise caution here. It's okay, Zelda said. He deserves the truth. She looked at me. No, I didn't know initially. Marina told me she was unhappy in her marriage, but felt trapped financially. She said you controlled all the money and she couldn't leave without giving up everything. That's not true. Marina had her own business and her own accounts. I know that now. But at the time, I believed her. I thought I was helping someone escape an unhappy marriage. When did it become about stealing my money? About a year into our relationship, Marina started talking about how much money you had, how you'd never notice if some went missing. She said you were always traveling and never paid attention to the details. And you went along with it. I loved her. And I'd done similar things before. Agent Sterling looked up from his notes. Similar things? Zelda's attorney started to object, but Zelda waved her off. I've targeted other women in relationships before, usually for smaller amounts. Marina was going to be my last job, enough money to retire on. How many other women? 4 over the past 8 years. Jesus. Mr. Castellanos, I know this doesn't excuse anything, but I want you to know that Marina was enthusiastic about the plan. She wasn't a victim I manipulated. She was a partner who wanted to steal your money as much as I did. Why are you telling me this? Because she's been calling you, trying to convince you that I forced her into it. That's not true. Marina planned most of the details herself. Agent Sterling leaned forward. Zelda, are you willing to testify to that in court? Yes. And I'm willing to help you find the additional money we hid. Additional money? There are 3 more accounts with about $400,000 total. Marina set them up without telling me. I only found out about them when we were moving the money after your heart attack. I felt my chest tighten. She stole even more than you knew? Marina was planning to steal from me too. She was going to take the money and disappear without me. So honor among thieves doesn't exist? Apparently not. Agent Sterling made more notes. Zelda, where are these additional accounts? 2 in the Bahamas, 1 in Costa Rica. I have the account numbers and access codes. You're willing to provide those? In exchange for the plea agreement, yes. I stood up. I'd heard enough. Zelda, I have one more question. Okay. Do you think Marina ever actually loved me? Or was our entire marriage just a setup for this theft? Zelda was quiet for a long moment. Mr. Castellanos, I think Marina loved the lifestyle you provided and the financial security you represented. But I don't think she loved you as a person. She talked about you like you were a business opportunity, not a husband. Thank you for being honest. Mr. Castellanos, I know this doesn't matter now, but I am genuinely sorry. You seem like a good person, and you didn't deserve what we did to you. You're right. It doesn't matter now. But I appreciate you saying it. After the meeting, Agent Sterling and I walked out of the federal building together. Mr. Castellanos, how do you feel about her cooperation offer? If it helps recover more money and ensures Marina gets convicted, I support it. Based on what she told us today, we're looking at additional charges for Marina and potentially much longer sentences. Good. Agent Sterling, when will we know about the additional $400,000? If Zelda provides the account information as promised, we should be able to freeze those funds within a few days. And the timeline for getting any of this money back. With Zelda's cooperation, probably 6 to 9 months for full recovery. The cooperation speeds up the international legal processes significantly. What about Marina? Will she get a chance to make a deal too? Probably. But based on Zelda's testimony, Marina was the primary planner and organizer. Her deal, if she gets one, won't be as favorable. That evening, I had dinner with Donovan to discuss the civil litigation strategy. Jake, with Zelda's cooperation, we should be able to recover almost all the stolen money and reverse the fraudulent property transfers. How long for the civil stuff? Property transfers, probably 6 months. The money recovery will depend on the federal investigation timeline. Donovan, I want to ask you something, and I want you to be honest. Okay. How could I have been so stupid? How did I miss all the signs that my wife was planning to destroy me? Donovan put down his fork. Jake, you weren't stupid. You were trusting. There's a difference. I lived with her for 12 years. I never suspected she was gay. Never suspected she was a criminal. Never suspected she was planning to rob me. How is that not stupid? Because Marina is a professional criminal who specifically targeted you and spent years creating a believable cover story. She studied you, learned your habits, identified your vulnerabilities, and exploited them. But the signs had to be there. Maybe. But hindsight is 20/20. When you're living with someone day to day, trusting them, building a life with them, you don't assume they're a criminal. That's not stupidity, that's humanity. I just feel like I should have known. Jake, the FBI said Marina maintained this deception for 12 years. That's not amateur hour. That's professional-level criminal activity. Don't blame yourself for being the victim of a sophisticated crime. My phone buzzed with a text from Agent Sterling. Additional accounts located and frozen. Total recovery now at $3.7 million. Zelda's cooperation proving very valuable. I showed the message to Donovan. Jake, that's great news. You're going to get almost everything back. Almost everything except 12 years of my life. True. But you're alive, you're healthy, and you're going to rebuild. Marina and Zelda are going to prison for a long time. Speaking of Marina, she called me from jail yesterday. What did she say? The usual manipulation. Claimed she loved me, said it wasn't supposed to happen this way, tried to make me feel guilty for cooperating with the investigation. Are you going to take any more calls from her? No, I've heard enough lies. Good decision. Jake, you need to focus on recovery and moving forward. Don't let her manipulate you into feeling sympathy for her. Donovan, can I ask you something else? Sure. Do you think I'll ever be able to trust anyone again? I mean, if I could be so wrong about someone I lived with for 12 years. Jake, what happened to you is rare. Most people aren't professional criminals. Most marriages aren't elaborate criminal conspiracies. Don't let Marina's sociopathy make you cynical about everyone else. But how will I know? The same way everyone else knows, you take reasonable precautions, you pay attention to red flags, and you trust your instincts. But you don't assume everyone is a criminal. I guess. Jake, there's something else we need to discuss. What? Your business. You've been out of commission for almost a week. Your clients are starting to ask questions. What kind of questions? Where you are, whether you're okay, whether your business is stable. What have you been telling them? That you had a medical emergency but you're recovering. But Jake, you're going to have to decide how much to tell people about what happened. Meaning? Meaning, do you want to keep this private? Or do you want to be open about the fact that you were victimized by marriage fraud? I thought about it. What do you recommend? Honesty, within limits. If you try to hide what happened, rumors will start, but you don't have to share every detail. What would you say? Something like, Jake had a heart attack and discovered that his wife had been stealing from him. He's recovering physically and financially, and his business operations are normal. That sounds reasonable. The key is to control the narrative. Don't let people speculate or create their own stories. Donovan, what if this ruins my business reputation? Jake, you're the victim here. People respect victims who fight back and recover. Your story could actually enhance your reputation as someone who's tough and resilient. Or it could make me look like someone who can't manage his personal affairs. We'll deal with that if it becomes an issue. Right now, focus on getting healthy and getting your money back. That night, I lay in bed thinking about the past week. 7 days ago, I was a married businessman who thought he had a secure life. Now I was a heart attack survivor who discovered his marriage was a criminal conspiracy. But I was alive, and I was fighting back. Marina and Zelda had made one critical mistake. They'd underestimated me. They thought I'd be confused and vulnerable after the heart attack. They thought I'd accept their lies and let them disappear with my life's work. They were wrong. Over the next few weeks, the federal investigation expanded beyond anything I'd initially imagined. Agent Sterling called me regularly with updates that painted an increasingly disturbing picture of Marina and Zelda's criminal enterprise. Mr. Castellanos, we've identified 6 additional victims of Zelda Morrison's romance fraud schemes dating back 10 years. 6 more? Jesus! The total amount stolen from all victims is approaching $8 million. Your case represents the largest single theft, but the pattern of behavior is extensive. What about Marina? Marina appears to have been involved in art fraud for at least 5 years before she met Zelda. We're finding evidence of forged paintings, fraudulent provenance documents, and money laundering through her gallery. So even before she met Zelda, Marina was a criminal. It appears so. The romance fraud was just her latest criminal venture. I was sitting in Donovan's office watching him take notes as Agent Sterling briefed us via speakerphone. Agent Sterling, Donovan said, what does this mean for the charges against both women? We're adding RICO charges, racketeer-influenced and corrupt organizations. This wasn't just marriage fraud, it was an organized criminal enterprise. What's the difference in terms of sentencing? RICO conviction can add 20 years to their sentences. We're looking at the possibility of life in prison for both of them. I felt a grim satisfaction. Good. Mr. Castellanos, there's something else. We've recovered additional assets from Marina's art fraud activities. Paintings, sculptures, and other artwork with a total value of approximately $2 million. How does that affect my recovery? Since the artwork was purchased with stolen funds and fraudulent loans, it becomes part of the asset forfeiture. You'll likely receive compensation from the sale of these items. So I might actually recover more than they stole from me? It's possible. The total asset recovery could exceed $5 million when everything is liquidated. After Agent Sterling hung up, Donovan and I discussed the implications. Jake, this is turning out better than we could have hoped. You're going to recover everything they stole, plus additional compensation. What about the time and emotional damage? That's what the punitive damages in the civil suit are for. We're seeking an additional $2 million in compensatory and punitive damages. Will we get it? With the criminal convictions and the evidence of premeditation, almost certainly. My phone rang. Dr. Shaw. Mr. Castellanos, how are you feeling? It's been 3 weeks since the heart attack. Physically, much better. Emotionally, I'm still processing everything. I wanted to discuss your long-term cardiac care. You'll need regular monitoring and lifestyle changes to prevent future heart attacks. What kind of lifestyle changes? Stress management, regular exercise, dietary modifications. And Jake, I have to ask, how are you handling the stress of the legal proceedings? Some days better than others, but knowing that Marina and Zelda are going to prison helps. I'm referring you to a therapist who specializes in trauma and betrayal. What you've been through goes beyond normal relationship problems. Dr. Shaw, I don't need therapy, I need justice. Jake, you can have both. Justice doesn't heal emotional trauma. Professional help does. After I hung up, Donovan looked at me seriously. Jake, she's right. You should consider counseling. I'm fine. You're not fine. You've been betrayed by your wife, robbed of millions of dollars, and nearly killed by a heart attack. No one is fine after that. Donovan, I just want to focus on the legal cases and getting my money back. Okay, but promise me you'll think about it. That afternoon, I went back to work for the first time since the heart attack. My office felt strange, like I was a different person than the one who'd left here 4 weeks ago. My assistant, Sarah, brought me coffee and a stack of messages. Jake, I'm so glad you're okay. How are you feeling? Better every day. What did I miss? The Morrison Center deal closed successfully. The Tempe project is waiting for your approval on the final plans. And there have been a lot of calls asking about your health and the other situation. What kind of calls? Clients, vendors, other developers? Word has gotten out about what happened with Marina. What exactly has gotten out? That she was arrested for stealing from you. People are asking if your business is stable, if your projects are secure. I'd been dreading this. In commercial real estate, reputation and financial stability are everything. If my clients thought I couldn't manage my personal affairs, they might question my ability to manage their investments. Sarah, set up meetings with our top 5 clients this week. I want to address this head-on. What are you going to tell them? The truth. That I was the victim of a sophisticated criminal conspiracy, that I'm recovering both financially and personally, and that my business operations are completely normal. Jake, most of them have been very supportive. Mr. Thompson from Meridian Properties called 3 times, asking if there was anything he could do to help. That's good to hear. Over the next few days, I met with my major clients and business partners. To my surprise, most were sympathetic and supportive. Several told me stories of their own experiences with fraud or betrayal. Jake, said Robert Thompson, who controlled several of my largest projects, what happened to you could happen to anyone. The fact that you figured it out quickly and fought back shows exactly the kind of character we want in our business partners. You're not concerned about my judgment? Your judgment in business has always been excellent. Your judgment in wives, well, that's a different skill set. By Friday, I felt more confident about my business relationships. But I was still struggling with the personal aspects of what had happened. That evening, Marina called from jail again. Jake, please don't hang up. I need to tell you something important. Marina, I told you I don't want to talk to you. Jake, Zelda is lying about me. I was as much a victim as you were. Marina, the FBI has evidence that you planned this for years. Forged evidence. Zelda created documents to make it look like I was the mastermind. Marina, stop. Just stop lying. Jake, I'm facing life in prison. If you still have any feelings for me at all, please listen. I'm listening, but I don't believe anything you say anymore. Zelda threatened to kill me if I didn't cooperate. I was terrified of her. Marina, you lived in my house with her for months. You introduced her as your sister. You actively participated in changing my emergency contact information. Because she forced me to. Jake, I tried to protect you. How did you try to protect me? I limited how much money she could take. I tried to talk her out of targeting your business accounts. You stole $3.7 million from me while I was unconscious in a hospital. That was all Zelda. I never wanted to take that much. Marina, even if that were true, you still stole from me. You still lied to me. You still destroyed our marriage. Jake, our marriage was real. My feelings for you were real. If your feelings were real, why were you sleeping with Zelda? There was a long pause. That was separate. No, Marina, it wasn't separate. You can't love me and plan to rob me at the same time. Jake, if you testify against me, I'll get life in prison. Good. How can you say that about someone you once loved? Because the person I once loved never existed. She was just a character you played to steal my money. That's not true. Marina, I have to go. Jake, wait. There's something else you need to know about Zelda. What? She's planning to escape. She's been talking to other inmates about breaking out. Marina, even if that were true, which I doubt, Zelda is in federal custody. She's not going anywhere. She has contacts on the outside, people who owe her money from previous schemes. Marina, I'm hanging up now. Jake, please, I'm trying to warn you. If Zelda gets out, she might come after you. I hung up. But despite myself, I was unsettled by the call. Was Marina telling the truth about an escape plan? Or was this just another manipulation attempt? I called Agent Sterling. Agent Sterling, Marina just called claiming that Zelda is planning to escape from federal custody. Mr. Castellanos, that's highly unlikely. Zelda is in a secure federal facility. But is it possible? Anything is possible, but federal prison escapes are extremely rare, and Zelda has been cooperating with us. It would be counterproductive for her to attempt escape now. Could Marina be telling the truth? More likely, Marina is trying to manipulate you into feeling sympathy for her or fear about Zelda. It's a common manipulation tactic. So I shouldn't worry about it? I'll have the Bureau check with the facility about any unusual activity or communications. But Mr. Castellanos, I think Marina is trying to maintain psychological control over you. What do you mean? Even from prison, she's trying to make you think about her, worry about her warnings, feel like you need her information. It's a way of staying relevant in your life. So I should ignore her calls? Absolutely. Nothing she tells you is likely to be reliable, and engaging with her only encourages more manipulation. That weekend, I decided to take Dr. Shah's advice and see a therapist. I found someone who specialized in financial fraud victims and trauma recovery. Dr. Jennifer Walsh was a calm, professional woman in her 50s who put me at ease immediately. Mr. Castellanos, what brings you to see me? I explained the whole story: the heart attack, the theft, the discovery of Marina's double life, the ongoing legal proceedings. That's an extraordinary level of betrayal and trauma. How are you sleeping? Not well. I keep thinking about all the signs I missed, all the times Marina was probably laughing at me behind my back. That's a normal response to this kind of betrayal. You're experiencing what we call complex trauma, not just from one incident, but from the gradual realization that your entire reality was false. Will I ever be able to trust anyone again? That's a common concern for fraud victims. The answer is yes, but it takes time and work to rebuild your capacity for trust. How long? It varies. Some people recover relatively quickly, others take years. It depends on your support system, your coping skills, and your willingness to process the trauma rather than just push through it. I'm not much for dwelling on feelings. I understand. But Jake, trauma that isn't processed doesn't disappear. It goes underground and affects your relationships and decisions in ways you might not realize. What kind of ways? Hypervigilance, inability to form close relationships, constant suspicion of others' motives, difficulty enjoying positive experiences. So if I don't deal with this, I'll become paranoid and isolated? Possibly. Or you might swing the other way and become reckless with trust, putting yourself at risk for future victimization. Great. So either I trust no one or I trust everyone inappropriately. Or you learn to trust appropriately, which requires understanding what happened to you and why, and developing better skills for assessing trustworthiness in others. I scheduled weekly appointments with Dr. Walsh. I was skeptical about therapy, but I recognized that my usual approach of just pushing through problems wasn't working for this situation. The following week brought major developments in the criminal cases. Agent Sterling called with an update. Mr. Castellanos, both women have been offered plea deals. What kind of deals? Zelda's cooperation has been excellent, so she's being offered 8 years in federal prison in exchange for a guilty plea and continued cooperation. And Marina? Marina's attorney is seeking a similar deal, but given her role as the primary organizer and her lack of cooperation, the prosecution is offering 15 years minimum. Is Marina going to take it? Her attorney says she's considering it. The alternative is going to trial and facing potential life in prison under the RICO charges. When will we know? Both plea deals have to be accepted by the end of next week, or we proceed to trial. Agent Sterling, what's your recommendation? If they both take plea deals, you get faster resolution and guaranteed convictions. If we go to trial, it could take another year, but they might get longer sentences. What about the money recovery? Plea deals don't affect asset recovery. We'll get your money back either way. Then I'm in favor of the plea deals. I want this resolved. There's one more thing. If Marina accepts the plea deal, she'll have to provide a complete confession and allocution in court. You'll have the opportunity to give a victim impact statement. What's that? You get to tell the court how their crimes affected you personally and financially. I'd like that opportunity. I'll make sure you're included in the victim notification process. That evening, Donovan called with more good news. Jake, the civil asset recovery is proceeding ahead of schedule. We should have the first $2 million back within 6 weeks. That fast? Zelda's cooperation eliminated most of the legal challenges. The offshore banks are releasing the funds without fighting extradition. What about the art fraud assets? Those will take longer, maybe 6 months. But the FBI has identified artwork worth approximately $1.8 million that will be liquidated for victim compensation. So I'm looking at total recovery of almost $6 million. Potentially, yes. Plus the civil damages we're seeking. Donovan, this is turning out better than I ever expected. Jake, you acted quickly and decisively. A lot of fraud victims don't realize what's happening until it's too late to recover anything. I got lucky with the confusion about the fake Sienna. Maybe, but you were smart enough to investigate instead of just accepting the situation. The next day, I received a call that I'd been dreading. Marina's parents, Eduardo and Catalina Vega. Jake, we are so sorry about what our daughter has done to you. Eduardo's voice was heavy with shame and grief. Eduardo, this isn't your fault. We raised her. We must have failed somewhere. Eduardo, Marina is an adult who made her own choices. You couldn't have known she was capable of this. Jake, we want you to know that we are completely cutting ties with Marina. We will not visit her in prison, we will not accept her phone calls, and we have removed her from our will. That seems extreme. No, Jake. What she did to you is unforgivable. You were like a son to us for 12 years. Marina destroyed that relationship for money. Catalina took the phone. Jake, We also want to help with your recovery. We have some items that Marina bought with your money. Jewelry, artwork, furniture. We want to return everything to you. Catalina, you don't have to do that. Yes, we do. It's the right thing to do. I appreciate that more than you know. Jake, can you ever forgive us for raising someone who could do this to you? There's nothing to forgive. Marina fooled all of us. After I hung up, I realized that Marina's crimes hadn't just destroyed my trust, they'd devastated her entire family. Her parents were heartbroken and ashamed, and they were losing their daughter just as surely as I'd lost my wife. That afternoon, Agent Sterling called with the news I'd been waiting for. Mr. Castellanos, both women have accepted plea deals. What are the terms? Zelda Morrison, 8 years federal prison, complete asset forfeiture, lifetime ban from financial services industry. And Marina? Marina Castellanos, 15 years federal prison, complete asset forfeiture, lifetime ban from art dealing, and restitution payments for the duration of her sentence. When is the sentencing? 6 weeks from now. You'll be able to give your victim impact statement at that time. Agent Sterling, is this over? Are they both going to prison for sure? Yes, the plea deals are binding. They'll be sentenced in 6 weeks and begin serving their sentences immediately. I felt a wave of relief, unlike anything I'd experienced since the heart attack. It was really over. Marina and Zelda were going to prison, I was getting my money back, and I could finally start rebuilding my life. That evening, I called my brother to share the news. Jake, that's fantastic. How do you feel? Relieved, vindicated, and surprisingly, a little sad. Sad? I know Marina was a criminal, but I still spent 12 years of my life with her. It's hard not to mourn the loss of what I thought we had. That's normal, Jake. You're not mourning Marina the criminal. You're mourning Marina the person you thought you knew. Dr. Walsh says the same thing. You're seeing a therapist? Yeah, it's actually helping. Good for you. Jake, what's next for you? Business is going well. I'm going to use some of the recovered money to expand into new markets. And I'm thinking about getting back into dating eventually. Are you ready for that? Not yet. But Dr. Walsh says the goal isn't to never trust anyone again. It's to learn to trust appropriately. That sounds healthy. We'll see. Right now, I'm just focused on getting my life back to normal. But even as I said it, I knew that normal was never going to be the same as before. I was different now, more cautious, more aware of people's motivations, more protective of my emotional and financial well-being. Maybe that wasn't entirely a bad thing. The sentencing hearing took place on a cold morning in February, almost 4 months after my heart attack. I sat in the federal courthouse with Donovan, Agent Sterling, and Dr. Walsh, who had come to support me through what she called a crucial step in your recovery process. Marina and Zelda were brought in separately, both wearing orange jumpsuits and shackles. Marina looked thinner than I remembered, and older. She kept glancing at me throughout the proceedings, but I avoided eye contact. Judge Cordelia Blackstone was a stern woman in her 60s with a reputation for tough sentences in financial crimes cases. Before I pronounce sentence, Judge Blackstone said, the court will hear victim impact statements. Mr. Castellanos, you may proceed. I stood up and walked to the podium. I'd spent weeks preparing what I wanted to say. Your Honor, 4 months ago I was a successful businessman with what I thought was a happy marriage and a secure future. In one day, I suffered a near-fatal heart attack and discovered that my entire life was built on lies. Marina Castellanos and Zelda Morrison didn't just steal money from me. They stole years of my life. They violated the most intimate trust possible between married people. They used my medical emergency as an opportunity to destroy everything I'd worked for. But what makes their crimes even worse is the premeditation. This wasn't a crime of passion or desperation. They planned this for years. They studied me, learned my habits, identified my vulnerabilities, and positioned themselves to strike when I was most helpless. Marina lived in my house, shared my bed, and pretended to love me while planning to rob me. She obtained legal documents under false pretenses, changed my emergency contact information, and set up financial systems specifically designed to steal my assets during a medical emergency. The financial damage was severe, over $3.7 million stolen. But the emotional damage may never fully heal. They didn't just steal my money, they stole my ability to trust, my faith in human relationships, and my sense of security in the world. I will recover financially. I'm already rebuilding my business and my assets. But I will never recover the 12 years I spent building a life with someone who was planning to destroy me. Your Honor, I ask that you sentence these women to the maximum allowed under their plea agreements. They showed no mercy to me, and they deserve no mercy from this court. I returned to my seat. Judge Blackstone made notes and then addressed Marina. Ms. Castellanos, do you wish to make a statement before sentencing? Marina stood up. She looked directly at me for the first time. Your Honor, I want to say that I'm sorry for what I did to Jake. He's a good man who didn't deserve what happened to him. She paused, and I thought she might actually give a genuine apology. But I also want the court to know that I was manipulated by Zelda Morrison. I was a victim too, in many ways. I made terrible choices, but I was influenced by someone who was more experienced in these kinds of crimes. I felt anger rising in my chest. Even now, even at her sentencing, Marina was trying to minimize her responsibility. I accept responsibility for my actions, but I hope the court will consider that I was not the mastermind of this conspiracy. Judge Blackstone showed no expression. Ms. Morrison, do you wish to make a statement? Zelda stood up. Your Honor, I take full responsibility for my crimes. I have a long history of financial fraud, and I involved Ms. Castellanos in my criminal activities. Mr. Castellanos is right that I showed him no mercy, and I don't expect mercy from this court. I just want to say that I'm genuinely sorry for the pain I've caused. Judge Blackstone consulted her notes. This court has reviewed extensive evidence of a sophisticated long-term criminal conspiracy designed to exploit the victim's trust and medical vulnerability. The defendant's crimes represent a profound violation of the most basic expectations of marriage and human decency. Ms. Morrison, you have an extensive history of targeting vulnerable women through romance fraud. Your crimes represent a pattern of predatory behavior spanning nearly a decade. However, your cooperation with federal authorities has been extensive and valuable. Ms. Castellanos, you betrayed the most intimate trust possible between married partners. You used your position as a wife to facilitate crimes against your husband. Your actions show a level of premeditation and callousness that is deeply disturbing. Zelda Morrison, I sentence you to 8 years in federal prison, followed by 3 years of supervised release. You will pay full restitution to all identified victims and are permanently barred from working in any financial services capacity. Marina Castellanos, I sentence you to 15 years in federal prison, followed by 5 years of supervised release. You will pay full restitution to your husband and are permanently barred from working in the art industry in any capacity. Both defendants will begin serving their sentences immediately. Court is adjourned. As the marshals led Marina and Zelda away, Marina looked back at me one more time. I thought I saw tears in her eyes, but I felt nothing. No sympathy, no regret, no lingering love. Just relief that it was finally over. Outside the courthouse, Agent Sterling shook my hand. Mr. Castellanos, justice has been served. How do you feel? Like I can finally start moving forward. The asset recovery should be complete within the next few weeks. You'll have almost everything back, plus additional compensation from the art fraud assets. Agent Sterling, thank you for everything. You and your team did an incredible job. Mr. Castellanos, can I give you some advice? Sure. Don't let what happened to you make you cynical about everyone. Marina and Zelda are rare. Most people aren't sophisticated criminals. Trust your instincts, but don't assume everyone is out to get you. I'm working on that with my therapist. Good. And Mr. Castellanos? What you did, figuring out the fraud quickly, cooperating with the investigation, fighting back instead of accepting victimization, that took courage. You should be proud of how you handled this. Over the next few months, I focused on rebuilding every aspect of my life. The asset recovery proceeded smoothly, and by summer I had recovered $5.8 million, more than Marina and Zelda had stolen. I used part of the money to expand my real estate business into new markets. I bought a smaller, more secure house and installed state-of-the-art security systems. I established new banking relationships with enhanced fraud protection. But the real work was emotional. Dr. Walsh helped me process the trauma of betrayal and begin developing healthier approaches to trust and relationships. Jake, you've made remarkable progress, she said during one of our sessions. 6 months ago, you were devastated by betrayal. Now you're building a new life based on authentic relationships and realistic trust. I still have bad days. That's normal. Trauma recovery isn't linear, but you're developing the skills to distinguish between reasonable caution and paranoid isolation. Dr. Walsh, do you think I'll ever be able to have a normal romantic relationship again? Define normal. I don't know. Trusting someone enough to share a life with them. Jake, you're already having healthier relationships than before. You're more aware of red flags, more protective of your boundaries, and more realistic about human nature. That's not a disadvantage. That's wisdom. But will I ever be able to love someone without constantly wondering if they're planning to rob me? With the right person and enough time, yes. But Jake, you don't need to rush into anything. Take your time and trust your instincts. 1 year after the heart attack, I was a different person living a different life. My business was more successful than ever. My health was excellent. And I developed genuine friendships with people who knew my whole story and still chose to be in my life. I'd also started dating Dr. Shaw, my cardiologist. It had begun casually, coffee after a routine checkup, but developed into something more serious. Jake, she said over dinner one evening, can I ask you something? Sure. Do you ever worry that you're attracted to me because I saved your life, rather than because of who I am? I used to worry about that. But Dr. Walsh helped me realize that our relationship actually developed over months of conversation, shared experiences, and genuine compatibility. And the fact that I was there during the worst experience of your life? That's part of our story, but it's not the foundation of our relationship. I'm glad you see it that way. Evelyn, can I ask you something? Of course. Does it bother you that I was married to a criminal? That I was so completely fooled for so long? Jake, you were the victim of a sophisticated criminal conspiracy. That doesn't reflect poorly on your judgment. It reflects poorly on Marina's character. But doesn't it make you wonder what other things I might miss? What other red flags I might ignore? No, because I've seen how you've changed. You're more aware, more protective of yourself, more realistic about relationships. If anything, your experience makes you a better partner. How so? Because you understand that trust is earned over time through consistent actions, not granted blindly based on declarations of love. 2 years after the heart attack, I received a letter from Marina in federal prison. Jake, I know you probably won't read this, but I wanted you to know that I think about you every day. I know I destroyed everything between us, and I know you'll never forgive me. But I want you to know that my feelings for you were real, even if my actions were unforgivable. I showed the letter to Dr. Walsh. How does reading that make you feel? Angry. She's still trying to manipulate me, even from prison. How so? She's trying to make me believe that part of our relationship was real, that she actually loved me. It's another lie designed to make me feel sorry for her. Jake, is it possible that Marina did have genuine feelings for you, even while planning to rob you? Dr. Walsh, how can someone love you and plan to destroy you at the same time? People are complicated. Marina might have had genuine affection for you while still being willing to steal from you. Criminals aren't usually completely devoid of human emotion. So she might have actually loved me? It's possible. But Jake, it doesn't matter. Even if Marina's feelings were genuine, her actions were unforgivable. Love doesn't excuse betrayal. Should I write back? What would you want to say? That I don't care about her feelings anymore. That I've moved on and built a better life without her. That she can spend the next 13 years thinking about what she lost. Then write that letter. You don't have to send it, but writing it might help you process your feelings. I wrote the letter but never sent it. Instead, I focused on building the future I wanted. 3 years after the heart attack, Evelyn and I got married in a small ceremony with tight security and comprehensive background checks on everyone involved. I'd learned to trust again, but I'd also learned to be appropriately cautious. My business had grown into a regional empire worth over $50 million. I'd used the stolen money I'd recovered as seed capital for aggressive expansion, turning Marina and Zelda's theft into the foundation of my success. I established a foundation to help victims of marriage fraud and financial crimes, using my experience to help others recognize and recover from similar betrayals. Jake, Evelyn said on our wedding night, I'm proud of you for building something positive from such a terrible experience. I had good help. You did the work. You chose recovery over bitterness, growth over cynicism. Most days, that's all anyone can do. 5 years after the heart attack, I received notification that Zelda Morrison was being released from federal prison. She'd served her full 8-year sentence and was being transferred to supervised release. Agent Sterling, now retired but still a friend, called to check on me. Jake, I wanted you to know about Zelda's release. She's been prohibited from contacting you, but I thought you should be aware. Thanks for letting me know. Do you think she's likely to cause problems? Probably not. Prison seems to have changed her. She completed multiple rehabilitation programs and has no history of disciplinary problems. What about when Marina gets out? That's still 8 years away. A lot can change in 8 years. I hope so. 6 months later, I received an unexpected letter from Zelda Morrison. Mr. Castellanos, I know I'm not supposed to contact you, but I wanted you to know that I got your address from a mutual acquaintance who thought you might want to hear this. I've been out of prison for 6 months, And I've been working with a nonprofit organization that helps white-collar ex-offenders find legitimate employment. I'm also working with federal authorities to identify and recover assets from other romance fraud cases. I know this doesn't undo what I did to you, but I wanted you to know that I'm trying to use my experience to help other victims recover from crimes like the ones I committed. I also wanted you to know that Marina has been writing to me from prison, trying to get me to help her with an appeal. I've refused all contact with her. What we did to you was unforgivable, and I won't be part of any attempt to minimize our responsibility or reduce her sentence. I hope you've been able to rebuild your life and find happiness. You deserved better than what we did to you. Zelda Morrison. I showed the letter to Evelyn. What do you think? I think she's trying to make amends the only way she can. Should I respond? Do you want to? Part of me does. Part of me wants to know more about this rehabilitation work she's doing. Then respond. But be careful about getting too involved. I wrote back a brief letter acknowledging her efforts and wishing her success in her rehabilitation work. I didn't invite further correspondence, but I didn't discourage it either. Over the next few years, Zelda and I exchanged occasional letters about her work with fraud victims. She provided information that helped several people recover stolen assets, and she testified in multiple cases against romance fraud networks. It wasn't forgiveness. I'd never forgive what she'd done to me. But it was recognition that people can change and that sometimes criminals can contribute to justice in unexpected ways. 7 years after the heart attack, Evelyn and I had our first child, a daughter we named Hope. Holding her in the hospital where I'd nearly died, I realized how much my life had changed and grown beyond anything I could have imagined during those dark days of betrayal and theft. Jake, Evelyn said, do you ever wonder what would have happened if Marina had never stolen from you? Sometimes. But honestly, I think my life is better now than it would have been. How so? I'm married to someone I trust completely because I know what real trust looks like. I have a business empire built on recovered stolen money. I've helped dozens of fraud victims through the foundation. I have genuine friendships with people who know my whole story. And you're not bitter? Not anymore. Marina and Zelda gave me an unexpected gift. They taught me what real strength looks like. They thought they were destroying me, but they actually made me stronger. 8 years after the heart attack, I received notification that Marina was eligible for early release with good behavior. She would serve 13 years instead of 15. I realized I felt nothing about the news. No anger, no fear, no curiosity about what she might do when she got out. She'd become irrelevant to my life. The little girl who'd once felt like she needed to steal everything I owned to be happy was about to discover that I'd built something much bigger and better from the ashes of her theft. And unlike what she'd stolen from me, what I'd built couldn't be taken away. 10 years after the heart attack, I was a different man living a completely different life. The scared, confused heart attack victim who'd woken up to discover his marriage was a criminal conspiracy had become a successful businessman, devoted husband, loving father, and advocate for fraud victims. Marina Castellanos and Zelda Morrison had tried to destroy me. Instead, they'd given me the opportunity to discover who I really was and what I was really capable of. They'd thought they were stealing my future. They'd actually set me free to build a better one. The last text I'd received from Marina's prison number 3 years earlier had said, "Jake, I hope someday you can forgive me." I'd never responded, but if I had, I would have told her the truth. I didn't need to forgive her. I'd built something so much better than what she'd tried to steal that her crimes had become irrelevant. She'd wanted my assets. I'd used her theft to build an empire. She'd wanted to destroy my life. I'd used her betrayal to create a better one. And the best revenge of all was that I'd genuinely forgotten about her until the prison system reminded me she existed. Some people say living well is the best revenge. They're wrong. The best revenge is living so well that you forget you were ever supposed to be angry.